Hey guys, it's VaulSC here. Hope that you're having a good week. I would like to announce a new event that you can participate in for Infinity on Tabletop Simulator. You guys are probably used to my leagues now where a lot of people sign up and it's just individual performance, and also my campaigns where I split you into teams. This is going to be an individual performance league, but it's a special one. So this is called the Custom Rules Infinity Tournament. We call that CRIT for short, is the acronym. And this is an event for science. It's more of an experimental event because we're going to be using some homebrew rules, some modifications of the basic workings of Infinity, and we're just going to see how it actually turns out in practice. So for that reason, it's going to be a free event. Unlike my other events, you will not have to pay any money to be a part of it. Everybody's welcome to sign and join up. And if you just want to go straight to it, there's a link in the video description where you can read through the rules document so you understand what you're getting yourself into. And within that document, there is a link to the sign-up form. Just put in your information, Discord, where you're from, what faction you're playing, and you'll be put into the draw. So in this video, I'll be explaining the background of the event and how it works and going over the document and preemptively answering some questions. But as usual, if you want to skip that and just go straight to the document and sign up, you're welcome to. I don't expect this to be a massive event because there's going to be some people who don't like the idea of playing something that's not ITS, that's not standard, that's experimental. So for that reason, I think there'll be less players. Having said that, I posted this document in the Discord yesterday, and already a bunch of people have signed up, so there is going to be an event. Some people are actually kind of eager. Okay, so this event came about from me thinking about N4 a little bit and just wondering, what it would be like to have people actually try to solve the game competitively if some of the main things were changed, such as the order cap, the trooper cap for groups, and the crit mechanic, and just things like that. And I did a poll at the end of my last event asking you guys if you'd be willing to try out some other little modifications, and some of them people responded reasonably well too, so I've actually built up a players pack around that. So everything else pretty much normally the same. You've got to join my Discord. You can watch this YouTube video for more information about it, but generally it'll all be there. If you are new to Infinity or new to Tabletop Simulator, there's a couple of links to my very good tutorials about how to play the game and about how to use Tabletop Simulator. And look, it's not that hard if you have the time to put into it. If you're relatively new, it's actually pretty quick to get up to speed if you dedicate yourself to it. If you do the homework, ask questions, take the time to watch the videos, not bad. Just bear in mind that this event is slightly more complicated because you need to be able to understand the base game and then understand the implications and ramifications of what I'm actually changing. Anyway, the sign-up form is right here, so when you're ready, and look, you can do this anytime before August the 5th, and I'll put you into the draw. You can sign up right here, and all you gotta do is put your Discord name, pick a faction that you'll stick with the whole event, where you're from, just to make it easier for me to give you an opponent nearby to you, and we really want your agreement that you're going to be committed to playing all of your games and available during the weekends. Otherwise, you'll disappoint other people and let other people down, which we don't want. So, no entry fee. You're welcome to donate me money as always, but it's not a requirement. It's not expected. Okay, so same deal with opponents not showing up. I mean, for buy rounds, you'll basically get 4 tournament points, but your objective points and army points will be an average of what you get for everything else. Now, I don't know whether this will be a small event like 8 people like we had for Meme League, or whether it will be a relatively big event like 50 to 100 people like we get in our campaigns. So the number of rounds will be determined by sign-ups. Basically I'll determine that later this week once the first draw is made and announce how many rounds the event really is going to be going for. But you can see a bit of a chart here about what the possibilities are, and then the 6 potential maps and missions will all be from my custom missions pool, which of course can be found in the Google Drive document. I will make the point that some of them have their standalone missions pack here, and if you can't find it in the standalone document, it's going to be in this PDF here, which has my classic list of missions, just so that you know. Cool. As for the maps themselves, I've put 3 of them out already. I am going to be reusing some of the old classic favorites from previous events that I've run, just because these ones did pretty well, and I don't have a lot of time to make new maps at the moment. I may make some new ones for the later rounds if we go for more than 3 rounds, especially for Neural Net, which has only ever had 1 map, so it probably could do with another one. So more on that later, but at least we have a few maps to practice on for the first few rounds. As usual with my leagues, you are welcome to make a new list every round, and I still am a big believer on the idea that people prefer to have a little bit of flexibility there and not have the list fatigue of having to play the same list more than 4 weeks in a row. Cool. Link to my Steam workshop where you can actually get to this workshop here to download the maps. That's going to be in the Players Pack. As always with observing games, just have a conversation beforehand about whether it's going to be streamed, whether you're worried about other people seeing your closed information, whether you are happy to have other people who are bystanders comment on the rules. Just talk about that beforehand if people are going to be watching. And with reporting the game results, as always, there will be a Google form made and made public for you guys to use when the league actually starts. Alright, now onto the juicy stuff, the fun stuff. So what are we doing differently? So as you guys know, there's a 15 order cap in ITS at the moment. What I'm going to do is swap that out for a 20 item cap, which will work a bit differently. So an item is something you can deploy on the table, not just a trooper. So if you think about it, peripherals, for example, if you take a trauma doc here and a palbot, the palbot doesn't generate an order, and it doesn't, contribute to the number of models you can take. So you can take 15 models in your Pano army plus a palbot. And what I'll be saying is that in my event, you can take up to 20 models, but your palbots are going to count towards that. So if you take a Pano list with 20 troopers in it, you can't have a palbot on top of that, but what you could do is take 19 troopers and add a palbot to that. Similar sort of thing for other kinds of peripherals, like your puppet bots and puppeteer guy, or your synchronized auxiliary teams, for example. We're also including certain deployables. So if you are a unit that has mine layer, if you choose to start the game with a mine deployed along with your unit, that will take up a slot in your 20 available slots. So this document will explain exactly how that works. What this is really going to be doing is allowing us to see some bigger lists from factions like ISS and maybe US Ariadne and some of the factions that would like to take more orders. But at the same time, we won't be allowing nomads to take 20 troopers plus the additional peripherals on top of that and have like 26 things on the table. So when it comes to mine layers, you can be a bit egregious by taking a lot of mine layers, but you won't be able to take that many. If you take 15 troopers in your list and 5 of them are mine layers and they have 5 mines spread out, you've got 20 things on the table. If you later on start spending orders and arrows to bring new mines onto the table, that won't count towards your list building limit. So, let's say you have exactly 20 troopers in your army and exactly one of them is a mine layer. You just simply won't have the option of starting the game with a mine deployed. You'll have to deploy it by spending orders and arrows. If you have 19 troopers in your list, well, you'll have the option of that one mine layer starting with something deployed, whether it's a repeater or a mad trap or a mine and so forth. Hidden deployments and parachutists, stuff like that that's not appearing on the table, will count towards that cap. And holo projected guys won't. Decoys will also not count. I was really on the fence about decoys. Some people think that they should, some people that they shouldn't. I'm decided that they won't count, so feel free to go nuts with your halots and your strelocks and things like that. That's the way I've decided it's going to be. So this will allow us to perform a science experiment here where we'll really see if this breaks the game, if it makes the game worse, or if people actually find that it allows them more freedom with list building. One of the main problems with this is where you go to Hakislam, for example, and you take your Dale armies, and you can afford a lot of them, and Dale armies are just way too powerful for 8 points, given the fact that they're always going to infiltrate. So sadly, you know, there are going to be lists with 8 of these guys, then you build your list around it, but we will see. You've got availability total right here, but I've said in the rules that I'm going to restrict that to 8. Really, it probably should be less than that, but I kind of want the the Imperial Service guys to take their 8 Guangxi and see how they do with them as well. So we'll see how it goes. Again, this is just for science, and nobody has to sign up. It's completely optional. The next real eyebrow raiser is the changed rolls for critical hits. So it'll work like in 3, but instead of doing an automatic wound, you do +8 damage to that first save that the weapon causes. Or if you want to think of it like in 4, you're basically not causing an automatic wound, but 8 damage instead of the additional save. Let's look at some examples. So I hit you with a multi-sniper. Ordinarily, you'd take 2 saves, right? But because it's a crit, in N3, one of those hits would be automatic wound, but in N4, you take an additional save, so you take 3 saves. In my version, you simply add 8 damage to the first save, and then you take the second save, and that's it. So the damage of the sniper is 15. You're saving once against damage 23, once against 15. You can see some more examples over here for the more exotic stuff. The thing I like about the system is that if I have a combi rifle and I shoot you and you have no armor, and you're not in cover, then you'll automatically take a wound, as you probably should. But if you are in cover, you will potentially be able to save that, because if you roll a 20, you've effectively rolled a 23, and if you've got armor 1, you pass. If you've got armor 0, you fail, so it's sort of on the edge. But if you're armor 10 in cover and a combi rifle hits you, you've got quite a reasonable chance of saving against a combi rifle. The other thing about this is it's not too awful on the variance of either you pass all your saves because they're so easy, or you fail all of them and you die to a pistol even though you have NWI, and it's just a bit feel bad. So you're experiencing less of these situations where somebody actually just completely crumbles or completely saves everything, and instead you're getting something which is a bit more closer to the middle of the bell curve and allows people's expectations and risk management to actually kick in and work a bit more strategically and tactically. Another thing we like here is armor piercing rounding down. Realistically, if I have an armor piercing gun and you have a little flak jacket, which is your armor 1, my armor piercing should do something to that. Currently it doesn't, so I like the idea of the armor piercing ammunition working a bit better. I love the idea that armor piercing is something that you should be sought after, you're paying more points for, and you want to include in your lists, and that it's a realistic choice when you're deciding with your multi-rifle, do I use AP or do I use shock, rather than it just not really mattering a lot of the time. Mines markers always going to be in camo state. Maybe I could sort of show you guys an example of this. The idea here is that you have a prone marker next to the mines when they're in camo state to show that they're silhouette 0, so your opponent won't be able to differentiate them from a mine layer who's nearby who wants to be prone but will be sort of giving away the game, if you know what I'm saying. So a shock mine looks like that, a silhouette 0, but when it's in marker state, it's silhouette 3, which is kind of dumb, because if you've got a wall here, you know, your opponent shouldn't really be able to see you over that wall. So we're going to say what you're going to have here is a prone marker next to it all the time, and you don't have to tell your opponent why the prone marker is there. You're just going to say it's a silhouette, silhouette. It's just a S3 camo marker that is prone, so it's silhouette 0, and nearby to that you may have another one over here which is also prone, and in this situation your opponent won't be allowed to know which one's the mine, which one's the real model, and won't be able to discover it over walls. And I think this is a big buff to Ariadna and Nomads in some ways, and Combined Army, but that's okay. It's more intuitive, and I want to be able to interview people after this event and say, hey look, did you think this really mattered and affected the game? I will be looking for that feedback. So the other thing here is that once per game you're allowed to get a reroll. You can reroll only one dice. You can reroll just about anything. You can't reroll stuff that's like external to the game. Like if I'm like arguing with you about whether my model can see your model, we decide to roll for it. You can't reroll that, but you can reroll your armor saves in shooting and metachemistry and landing with parachutist or whatever. So you roll the dice. So here's my dice, and I make my roll, and I see that it's not what I wanted because I was looking for an armor save of a 13 plus, so I choose to re-roll it, and I just make a note somewhere that I'm re-rolling it, so I've used my once a game attempt, and I always have to take the result. That can't be re-rolled further. And I'm doing this after I've seen the result of the first dice, but I'm not allowed to see what sort of armor saves my opponent might make later. I can only see what they will roll simultaneously, so let's just say that this is me firing a missile against somebody dodging, and I happen to not like the result I get. My opponent successfully dodges. I choose the reroll, and it hits. You know, I will be using that reroll before I see their armor save, if that makes sense. Can't use it in the reactive turn because I don't want both people sort of, trying to figure out who uses their reroll first, kind of thing. I'm not going to do it that way. It's going to be active turn only. And the idea behind this is just to see if this can sort of mitigate that effect of having a game where just absolutely everything goes wrong, but you still play really well, and it comes down to an important moment, we have a chance to come back, and the dice rolls still fail you. Well, a player in that situation might be able to sort of use this to mitigate that a bit, whereas it's not going to be useful to somebody who is just getting, average luck all the time. It will be helpful, but not super helpful. So we'll see how that goes. And as usual, my two big ones that I've always used in other events, limit insertions back. You can't strip 2 command tokens away from a group that has 10 guys in the combat group. Just a reminder too that the single combat group can take up to 20 items as well. So just because you're limited to 10 guys or slots in one group doesn't mean you're limited to 10 items in our cap that we talked about earlier. The 20 model cap, 20 item cap is only for your list, not for a group. So you can take a limited insertion list with 20 mine layers, and they can all have their 20 things in it, and you'd be fine. Also, don't have to tell your opponent what your lieutenant's whip roll is at the start of the game, because we don't like that. And of course, no localized decompression zones, because my missions don't have them anyway. So there you go. So, why don't you guys give this event a go? It might not be a very long event. It should be a bit of fun. It should be definitely very interesting. A breath of fresh air compared to what we normally have. After this, I'll probably run back into doing campaigns, and we probably won't use a lot of these custom rules in the future events. But we just want to see how is this going to go. How are people going to find it in practice? Are there some unexpected ramifications of it, things we've overlooked? That'll be really interesting to know. So get to signing up, guys. Sign up form is open. I'll be posting the draw probably this Thursday, giving you guys plenty of time to schedule a match for the weekend and having some fun with it. And I'll see you in Discord.